Jackson, California, to help a really, really wonderful client get to the bottom of some energy, some activity, some really disturbing events and unsettling events and activity that are going on in her space. Some of the activity is just curious, some of it is just annoying, typical of paranormal energy and activity. But the animals are being upset. The child is being upset. Her son is experiencing things. She's experiencing things. That's when it really crosses a line for us. We cannot have the vulnerable being taken advantage of or being affected or being harmed in any way, shape, or form. We want to know why. What is going on? What is our client having to deal with, and why, and what can we do to help her? Of course, we're going to do the full investigative process. We're going to document as much as we can, but ultimately our goal is to resolve as much as possible. So we will be conducting a full blessing, and we will also be educating our client and empowering her on management, because it's pretty clear at this point our client is spiritually gifted in some way, a sensitive, an empath, and having experiences for her entire life, including apparently seeing an apparition of a relative at a very young age. All of that kind of stuff really, I relate to. I understand that. I appreciate that, because that was my truth and that was my experience as well. Not knowing what to do with one's abilities, not knowing, should I be, doing this or that, how to engage energy, grounding, all of that kind of stuff. It's really important to just kind of have the right tools in your toolbox. And that's what our client deserves, to have the right tools, and we want to give those to her so she doesn't have to be having nightmares and seeing shadows and the dog being frightened and not wanting to come in, and so on and so forth. We had to be given just a little bit of pre-information coming to this case, because we did give it an emergency slot because of the fact that it was getting out of hand, it was escalating, and there was a child and animals involved. That kind of adds to the fire for us to really want to get in and do something and help any way, shape, or form.
Interesting choice of words.
and indeed it is, because, as some people might know, Jackson, California, has a few really significant historical locations. The Kennedy and Argonaut Mines. They are basically the property of Kennedy Mine property is all back in here, and the Kennedy and Argonaut Mines are right in this region, right around us. And so, August 27th, 1922, there was a horrific tragedy at the Argonaut Mine, and 47 miners were killed in basically a fire. Went in through some of the shafts. They were, I think, about close to 3,000 feet.
Yeah, not
feet
miles.
Down. I was like, feet down. And basically, they got trapped. They couldn't get out. They were pushing themselves farther and farther back in the mine, thinking they could get out, or maybe they would just hide until somebody could come help them. And so they did put some bulkheads up. They tried to block out things. They did everything that they thought was right to buy some time. It took weeks to recover the bodies out of the mine after that. After they kind of tested things out and figured things out and did some, studies and so forth, they found that the miners had about 4 hours where they actually survived. And this was based on carvings on some of the walls. They used different materials, whatever they had. 3 a.m., 3:15 a.m., people are passing out. The last note on the wall said 4 a.m. and nothing else. So it proved that was the last person that could document something, and the last person that was awake was at 4 a.m. And then we would assume shortly thereafter, one by one by one, all of these men who were just trying to make a living and just trying to do their job at a pretty fruitful mine, mind you, they never came back to see their families. They never made it out. People were waiting and waiting and waiting to hear And finally they heard, and they only got 46 of the miners out at the initial kind of onslaught of retrieving the remains. The final miner did not get retrieved out for a whole nother year. They figure he just kind of got washed down a little farther in some of the efforts to extinguish the fire. So, there's a lot of energy that comes with a tragedy like that. There is a lot of energy that just comes from the gold country and the Mother Lode region in general. There is a lot that goes along with this. I mean, there are the greed of finding the gold, getting the money, getting all of that. They want, to succeed and to have the maximum amount they can get out of these mines. And the Kennedy mine and the Argonaut mine made some good money. They were technically competing mines, but they were joined by one passageway that initially, in the kind of right when the tragedy happened, that was actually blocked off, and they tried to unblock it to go and rescue them. But now it's just one big historical complex. They are all one historical monument together, and remembering the past, remembering what has happened here. And that kind of energy, from greed to crime to women of the night and everything else, that has caused a haunting imprint on this type of location. I am not surprised that people are having profound activity within this whole kind of general neighborhood. Our client adds to the mix by being spiritually gifted. And that, in conjunction, is the perfect storm, unfortunately, where managing activity is going to be a very delicate and a very precise thing, where she's going to have to be very engaged in keeping things at bay and setting those boundaries. And that's what we want to help her do. We want her to know that the power truly is in her hands, and she has all of the resources that she can possibly need, not only within herself, but now with us as spirit, so we can make sure she feels secure and safe. We are also documenting this in the time of masks and social distancing. So for the majority of the case, we will be staying at least, if not more, than 6 feet apart from everyone, just for obviously the rules, regulations, safety. When we have to be in closer quarters, we do have our proper PPE to keep ourselves safe, and following all the protocol, of course, and also keeping our client safe, because we want her to be well and to be healthy. And we have our amazing, lovely, wonderful RAD broadcast buddies with us as well, and they are donning their masks and their joy and all of their kind of fun stuff as well, and kind of toughing it out with us just to get some resolution for our client, who when we go in, we can talk to them a little bit more. There is a connection with them as well, helping us find this particular client, and letting us know how dire of a situation that she is truly in. So, with that said, I think we should go in, we should debrief her on the things that we're going to do, figure out what we've been feeling, what's going on. I do feel a lot of milling around. I feel a lot of cross traffic, a lot of walking. I see pacing and walking around this area. And I do feel two distinct souls in her space that are very loud. I think they're actually protective, but they're very nervous and they're very loud right now. There is definitely a female that is extremely anxious to be heard. So we'll see what we can find out, and if we can get to the bottom of this and make things just a little bit better. And that's happened.
That's not creepy at all.
No, not at all. And that actually reminds me of a case that we are familiar with up in Loma Rica. Same kind of phenomena happened. I mean, the screaming was right on top of everybody, and they all bolted down there. There was nowhere for anyone to go. But the screaming was right there, and they could see nobody was there. The cops got called, the whole same thing. It's usually when that kind of thing happens, it's sort of a loop or an echo of the past, or an echo of an event, a traumatic event that is somehow, some way replaying on the space. And so it's not necessarily, they're not going to come and attack you or anything, but you're hearing a horrific replay of something that's gone on. Who knows how many years before you were ever here, or maybe even before any of these, residences were here. It could have been way back in mining days and somebody got killed, so.
And isn't quartz crystal known for being like the replayer?
Yeah, it's an amplifier.
Like a VHS, like it'll just kind of rewind and play. And we're a few days away from the
anniversary.
Tragedy.
Clearly, there's something going on that's kicking up the energy, that's kicking up the activity in this location. To, like you said before, you were kind of managing, and all of a sudden things have taken a really dark and dramatic turn to where you're barely sleeping, the animals are scared, all of that kind of stuff. And they're so cute and they're so sweet, and look at those little faces.
My good boy.
Look how adorable they are. They don't need to be scared. Overall, I feel that there is a bit of a perfect storm going on in this space. We've got a sensitive mixed with clearly a profoundly historical location. And anytime you're in close quarters with either houses that are close together, duplexes, apartments, any of those types of situations where it's really close quarters energetically, not only are you going to get all the stuff that's historical about this space, but then you're going to get everybody else's drama and everything kind of mishmashing together. Neighbor 2 doors down has a fight. You're sensitive. There's spirits out there to get irritated. And it just sort of wafts in kind of like fog into your space and wreaks havoc. And then you don't sleep good for a week. And this, all these things, it domino effects. You have all of this energy, and it's just not dissipating, and it's not respecting your boundaries for anything. So we want to try to reverse that a bit, to say the least. I'd like to do a little bit of a walkthrough through the space, just because I keep being drawn down the hall, and I do feel there's a older female that is in one of the rooms that keeps watching somebody. So with that said, I think we'll... if I can walk past people appropriately.
I went down to go ask the manager if she had any history of who previously lived here, if anybody's passed away. She said she didn't know, but one of the older tenants who's been here for 30 years said that an older woman passed away in one of these buildings, or in these complexes, but she wasn't sure what one. And that was about 10 years ago.
Oh, good.
So that just...
Well, she does seem helpful.
Sort of validation,
Thank you for the validation. I like validation. That always helps me. But I feel like she's here to protect.
Okay.
And she's particularly concerned with your son. Like, making sure he is safe. That is, like, her obsession. And so he may remind her of somebody that, like, she left behind. So she's like, oh, no, everything's fine, you're okay. Like, she's trying to do that kind of behavior. He seems a little sensitive, too. Like that. Like, I feel electricity. We probably want to measure this with some of the meters.
He's been extremely over-emotional for him the last 2 weeks. Like, everything is making him cry. He's thinking he's in trouble when he's not in trouble. No matter how many times, bud, you're not in trouble. You're fine. You're not in trouble. And he comes and he's like,
What just happened?
The hat just fell off of the wall.
And I'm pretty sure I wasn't touching it.
You might have knocked into it, I don't know.
No,
It's way up there, I don't think so.
No, this is hooked.
No, it's on the
If you
hook.
put
This
it
is
back,
hooked.
I was leaning on the wall right here.
Okay. So
Could you have touched
So
it?
could have this had knocked it over?
If you hit it with a boom, maybe?
You could try to reproduce it. Yeah, I think
They both.
It's always good to
stack
debunk.
them up.
Like that?
Yeah, that's kind of... No.
Not even with another one.
There.
I did it
Unless y'all want to see it from my point of view, which...
when that
nobody
happened.
That thing jumped and hit me in the hip.
Fell off.
Yeah.
So.
Like I said, and recently I
Cute.
had... bread out of my pantry fly into my kitchen while my son and I were making popcorn last week. That's terrified my child and kind of freaked me out. So.
Yeah, I am.
I mean, and I'm sure the camera caught the sound of that flying off. I mean, the viewers may think that I ran into it, but neither Brandon nor I did. And it hit me.
You saw it.
I just watched it. They just went blink.
And it flew off with such force that it hit me in the hip.
Yeah, you would have had to do. Excuse me. You would have had to do this.
You would have. Yep, that's what you would have had to do.
They're solidly on there.
Yeah, so. Sorry.
God darn it! Now I got I honestly feel like he may have some receptive energy to the other side. So dreams, that kind of stuff, feeling, sensing, picking up on things. But you're clearly the more advanced in spiritual perception. Yeah, that lady is in here. She's just like, she's almost trying to sing like a lullaby. Like I hear singing. I hear a soothing, sweet singing coming out of her.
Could any of this cause my son's bloody noses in the middle of the night? Because he's never had bloody noses up until we moved here. And it always happens between 1 and 3 in the morning. And it's always constant. He rarely gets them during the day. But it's at least a once to twice a week thing.
So what I'd like to... the woman is not doing it. She's trying to protect him. One of the other energies could be causing issues. But I'd like to take some environmental readings in here before I am sure, because I know there's a lot of spirit activity in here. That is obvious. There's no doubt.
Well, we're going to break out all the gear on this one.
Yeah, I want to measure some environmental data in here because if the humidity is not right in here, that could dry out his nasal passages, and it could be a very scientific reason. Mm-hmm. And we want to validate that.
Good point.
We don't want to just say, oh yeah, no, the ghost is punching him in the face. Well, no, that may not be it. It could just be dry air. And I've had a lot of like asthma and allergies and stuff when I was younger, and it caused a lot of issues. So I'd like to take some readings in here. The woman seems to be very protective. She seems very interested in protecting him. And then there's a couple other, I'm feeling other energies in this space, and I'm trying to figure out who they are. But they're drawing me all over the place. The woman is very present in here. She's very busy in here. There does seem to be a gentleman with brown hair and a little bit broad-shouldered man, maybe 30, if that. It's kind of darker brown, like kind of close to Brandon's hair color, kind of similar to that sort of shade. Just he's like wandering around the space. I don't know what he's doing here yet. He hasn't said anything to me. And there's an older male. He's got to be 70, 80 years old, give or take. A little wiry, a little opinionated and crotchety. But he's kind of funny. He's actually got like a very sarcastic energy about him that I sort of like. So I don't know what he's wanting. I don't know if he's connected to you or if he's connected to the mine. He's not really showing me yet. He's just kind of wandering in.
I'm sorry, describe his hair again?
So he's a little tall-ish, kind of wiry, framed. His hair does seem like salt and pepper-ish. And he's just, God, he's got this really sarcastic wit about him. He's just very snarky. But I like him. I mean, I like the guy. He doesn't seem to be causing me any issues. But he's just here, so... I mean, for what it's... You got a lot of dead people here. It's going to take me a long time to sort these some bitches out. So, I'm going to keep working on them one by one. But you've got activity. A lot of activity.
Thank you for validating that I'm not crazy.
No, yeah. You're welcome. No, you are definitely not nuts. Just saw a small figure follow Hailey, so that was good.
Oh, yay.
Get to the bottom of that one in a minute. And yeah, there is definitely activity here. There's a lot of residual, though, which residual hauntings are the type of haunting that, basically, like I was saying earlier, it's a record player. It is over and over and over again the same types of things repeating and repeating and repeating. They're not an intelligent haunt. They're not an intelligent entity. They can't actually harm you, but you might feel them, see the walking around, hear the knocking, them making noises. They may even accidentally affect the environment, but they're only repeating a pattern. They're not actually here to do anything to you.
Yeah.
But that kind of heavy residual could still make somebody extremely uncomfortable if it's to that degree. And that was a dog tail that did
Yes,
that one.
that was.
I can debunk that one.
Yes, it was.
So there is a man that doesn't belong. He is actually making me uncomfortable. I think I need to go to your room because I think that's where he's hiding. Okay. Oh, yeah. Ooh, shit's house. Houston? This man, he's about 40, 45. He's not well nourished. Very argumentative, antagonistic. He's an alcoholic. He drinks a lot. He spends more time drunk than he does sober, he says. And the women, there's multiple women that he's done something to or with. Okay. Back off. He's not here all the time. He says he roves. He roves this area, and sometimes he gets in bed with people and like moves the bed or touches the bed, or you might feel a shift in the bed. I don't mean to make you cry. I'm sorry. Is that something that's happened to you?
Just me feel like I'm always lucid dreaming, like I'm asleep, but I'm not. I'm conscious, and I can't get that sleep.
Yeah, because I think that kind of activity of sort of a lewd spirit getting in bed with you would definitely make you feel trapped, make your body feel trapped, make you feel like you can't move, make you feel like almost like you can't breathe, kind of like sleep paralysis.
That's exactly that's what I've been telling you.
Okay, yeah, because I feel like he's triggering a lot of that. I have means to remove that type of thing.
So help me.
Yeah, I get real displeased when it comes to those type of energies because I feel like he actually, this is older because he participated in like with Women of the Night type of thing, and I believe that he killed several of them. Is kind of how I feel about his energy.
So he's a predator.
Yeah. He's
And a sexual one at that.
Yes. He is not a nice man. He died about when he was probably close to 50, just because he finally just rotted his organs out. So, yay for him. But that bad lifestyle and that traumatic death, he just decided, well, I'm probably going to hell anyway. So
now he's in purgatory, essentially.
Yeah, and for lack of a better term, except for he's basically earthbound. He's trying to live here on Earth and still do things. So he needs to I can remove him. I'm going to remove him.
My question to you, because my ex that I recently separated with was an extremely bad alcoholic.
Oh.
And we separated because he tried to sleep with my little sister.
Wow.
And after this is when the nightmares started, and it's gotten really negative in here, very suffocated to where I don't even want to come into my own home. Yeah. It's just very trapping. And then that's when the nightmares started.
Yeah. I can see that. So I hate to think that I'm picking up. I feel like that entity really related to him, and they like their energies.
Yeah, he's 37.
Their energies got along.
And now that he's pissed because his buddy isn't in the house anymore. Like his drinking buddy.
I mean, he really obviously related to him, and maybe he figured that guy had dibs. So, he just clearly wasn't as interactive with you. But now that you're vulnerable and alone, You know, but you're not the only one in this area that he is doing this to. You know, waking up, traumatizing. Some people might be getting more, like, worse things, and some people might be getting just less. Just the feeling of being, like, uncomfortable, that kind of thing. Yeah, this is not ideal, but I definitely feel like your ex's natural inclination to be the way he was already him, but it probably got dialed up a notch or a few, you know, being in an environment with an entity like that. It just brought out his natural problems even more to the forefront, which in a weird way is kind of a mixed blessing, because you got to see who the person really was and not waste your entire time on trying to fix somebody else, you know. So
In a weird way, the universe did you a favor.
yeah,
Right.
essentially. I mean, it sped up a process that was going to, you know, happen anyway. He was always going to be who he was, but this other entity just put the fast forward button on things. So I feel like that's definitely a factor. We need to fix this.
Please.
Yeah.
I want to sleep. I haven't slept in almost 2 months. It's been really bad. And a single mom working full time, it's draining. It's exhausting me. I can't keep doing it.
That was a big part of why we, you know, found an emergency spot. Because, I mean, when somebody is suffering to this degree and you're being affected, it's affecting your child, it's affecting the animals, that's simply not okay, and it's something that I won't stand for. So we need to fix this, and we need to fix this sooner rather than later. So I think I'd like to take some meters through the place and just do a little sweep, figure some stuff out. Definitely want to take some measurements to see if there's anything adding to it that's natural, that's not paranormal, and then kind of get to the bottom of it, because I really think that there's a lot of different layers to this, that it's not just one simple thing, it's multifaceted. And so we got to get you managing this so you can actually get some darn sleep, for crying out loud. But yeah, I think we'll break out some meters and
Perfect.
get to the bottom of it.